When that translates into their behavior as a parent, sometimes becomes difficult to manage the expectations of your child as well. It has changed in the past probably less than a decade now.
The content that they consume, you can see a visible influence of it in the way their personality and minds are getting shaped.
It's fine to consume it, to an extent I thought was fine, but after a point of time it just became like, she was growing up with her, so everything that she did was so influenced by her than what is getting influenced in the circle of her home. As parents, we want them to kind of see whatever is unique for them to pick up. What we see today is probably things that have moved on from those canvases to probably the screens that we use. The role of art is going to be to make people feel curious about things.
Hi Farzana.
Hello, Megha.
We are in Mumbai. The year is 2024. Can I request you to close your eyes for me? Go back to your childhood, the year of your choice. Find a memory when you first interacted with art.
Okay, so art, while it comes in many forms, I think the memory that comes to me clearly is the form that I saw my mom actually creating so much from things that were around us. We have this extremely important part of our community religion, which kind of holds a lot of bearing, which we call as a kasti, and it doesn't happen very easily and not many people can make it, but it's an art because you know how to make it. It's a big thing. At the same time, my grandfather was an artist, and whenever I used to go back to my native, with my mom's native, I think we used to always see the art pieces that he had created over there.
What art was that?
He was into different forms of art. He used to, at that point of time, imagine we used to see these, foldable, art pieces where he had actually created an entire circus in it.
Wow.
He had actually, painted those animals, cut them out into, small pieces, and created that entire, tambu of a cage. I mean, where you actually saw the circus around it, and when you opened it, it used to kind of actually come to life. Imagine art at that time was something like, that was art for me at that point of time, which kind of intrigued us a lot. So yeah, I think if I look back at it, I think these are the two things that probably come to my mind.
After all these years, how has that art, what you saw your grandfather doing or your mother doing, stayed with you today?
I think it has changed the way you look at it. Maybe it hasn't really kind of been something that you would take back as a legacy per se. But what has stayed back into this whole thing, I would say, is the fact that you appreciate different forms of things around you, right? Like imagine things where from fruits and different vegetables, he had made a cock out of it.
Wow.
All right, and it looks, I can still visualize it in front of me right there. What we see today is probably things that have moved on from those canvases to probably the screens that we use, but people are using that, right, in some form or the other. Like when you even think about things, when people go for these events and things around, inspiration comes from anywhere, right? And when we see about it, like somebody took an inspiration from people that I kind of work along with, right? People in my graphics teams, they take inspiration from even probably this cup right here to create something out of it.
Yeah.
So I think that is what has changed, at least I would say, is just the physical form of doing things has just moved into behind the screen, but I think art has still stayed around.
It is so interesting because what you might have seen growing up happening around you and the exposure to see the world with maybe not different but a unique lens has shaped how you see things today.
Yeah.
And how did that translate into your chosen form of art? What is the artist in you like?
So I mean, I would probably say thanks to my grandfather to have that little art that I do have. So I'm not a professional, artist by choice, but I do have a streak where I get into that mode where I love colors. I love to kind of just see something differently. When I have those moments where I just want to kind of, let go of things that are kind of piling on and all of that, I just probably want to pick up a canvas and just, kind of pour out everything that I have into me. So I do that part of it. That's something that I do. Art in a form is also, keenly when I, look at my kids. I mean, I'm sure we all have, ways of putting that across into a form where they do understand a lot of things are changing, and as parents we want them to do everything in the world, right? Today, okay, you go into a singing class, go to dance class, go to an art class. I think as parents we want them to kind of see whatever is unique for them to pick up. We also do that somewhere, and you learn a lot of those things from them as well. So it's kind of just a little mix of all of it.
I think you're being humble because I can vouch for the doodles that you do in between serious meetings, but at the same time, how your artistic side comes into very serious strategic presentations that you make for work. So I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
In fact, precisely to do that is why Ranaksh had this beautiful idea of creating the platform called Voice of Artist to unlock the artist within everyone.
Right.
I don't think it's a statement which should make us feel embarrassed that we are not artists by choice, by profession, because, well, practicalities of life, right? We want to do what we want to do, at the same time nurture the artist within. And you are doing that.
Yeah.
So with Voice of Artist, the intent is to nurture and unlock the artist within everyone, irrespective of what profession they are in. So welcome to Voice of Artist. Farzana, how are you feeling?
Amazing. It's a beautiful Sunday evening. So yeah.
Talk to us about the influence of art in anybody and everybody's life, and how does that change the things that you do in your life? Like if you have an artistic bent of mind,
Yeah.
how does it change the things that you do? Do you see a difference?
I think, there are different mindsets, right? People talk about the left brain, the right brain, the analytical one, the creative one. So people talk of all of these things, and it's scientifically proven that yes, there are going to be different types of people, and there are some who kind of very naturally are analytical natures. There are people who are very naturally creative in nature. So I think that's a blend. But even analytical people can be creative, right? Like you said, somewhere I don't find myself to be completely biased towards being creative or being towards an analytical mindset. But when I, like you were mentioning, when I create presentations, right, I don't create presentations which are just talking about a piece of some flying in images around it, right? But I'm talking about creating an image of what is analytically there as numbers, making that a story, creating the storyboard into it, and then giving it that life and that space that it deserves as the number that it is, right? So I think that is the difference between what you can make out of an analytical thing into a creative part of it as well.
You just made data sound so poetic. But that's what visual storytelling
influenced by Megha in front of me, right?
But that's what visual storytelling is. What you're saying is, even a basic so-called dry communication can become artistic.
Yes.
What would you tell to those people who feel they are not creative?
I think it's not about feeling that they're not creative. They are creative in whatever they are doing, right? At the end of it, when 1 + 1 becomes 2, that's also creative, right?
Tell us more about that. What do you mean by that?
So like at any given point of time when somebody thought about that 1 + 1 is equal to a 2, it was creation of something which was innovative. And when you say innovation is nothing but something which kind of breathes from creativity. So I think somewhere I feel it's always linked to that. It's not like you're not creative, but it's just how you see it, that's all.
Wow. Voice of Artist has this philosophy. It's imagining a world where art is above chart, which means art for art's sake. And if you do it the right way, you will get charts. Now, what we are talking about is unlocking the artist within people who might not be full-time artists necessarily. So in your experience, what you've seen happening with you, with people around you, and the younger ones in your family, how has the art stayed alive? And what have you done to ensure that the artist within others get unlocked in your vicinity?
I don't think the art or the artists have been lost somewhere. I think that still continues, right? Today, our educational system, whether we like it or not, in India, while it was quite archaic initially when we were there, right? We had these regimes, and you come from, you have to study this and all of that. That's moved on to kind of become more experiential for kids. I think that's also a very big change and a leap for us to kind of imbibe that artist in people, right? Because today, while we did not have enough opportunities to move into different verticals which were art driven as much, now kids have much more opportunities given the vocational things that are available in our society at this point of time. So I think things have changed, probably not that drastically or dramatically that you would have expected it to, but it has it's at least a start at this point of time where it's giving kids an opportunity to kind of think differently. Like today, I don't think beyond just school and sports, probably I ventured too much into other things, right? And then when you had to kind of choose from verticals of studies, it was just science, commerce, arts, right? And then beyond that, if you had to do anything, it was engineering, it was MBA, it was these kind of things. Now what kids have is absolutely kind of platter for them to choose from, and that's where they can actually start realizing what they have within themselves to really be able to go and kind of get those and hone those skills that they want to kind of do it. I think my elder daughter, since the grade 3, I guess, while she did she did as far as schooling is concerned, but she was into guitar, she was into violin, she was into speech and drama. She's gone to a level where she's kind of excelled herself as when it comes to art as a form in speaking, right? I think she's done that. She is a good artist as well, but she kind of has that flair for it, and she kind of does more on her iPad than she does on canvases, while she does want to kind of do it. But that also is a form of art, and there's no stoppage from exploring anymore. And the amount of things that you have as exposure or as facilities in your hand, like we didn't have iPads, right? We could not just do it, okay, we don't like it, just erase it, okay, redo it. We didn't have those things. We had, of course, we had pen and paper, notebooks, pencils, but it's just only kind of, we can do much more in today's time and age is what I feel.
No, that's beautiful because, like you said, with abundance of opportunities and possibilities, it's the will and the passion also that gets a chance to come out.
Yes. Yeah.
And at the same time, the education system, the parenting, everything has kind of evolved and explored. But is it also causing a problem in terms of the choice? Like you said, there are so many
multiple choices.
Paradox of choice, right? So, as a mother to beautiful young daughters that you have, how do you navigate this paradox of choice, and how do you help them find their voice of artist?
I think parents have to stop getting very pushy also to kids when it comes to things that you kind of want them to. And like I said, there is so much that is available. You want your child to get into so many things around. Somewhere parents do not realize that also takes into the time that they have for other things that which probably they want to kind of become experts at. So I think as a parent, there's one thing that I have personally kind of chosen to do is, I give you the opportunity. If you want to take it, good for you. If you do not want to take it or not, kind of progress with it, I think I'm not going to kind of push you through it as well. Like I still remember my elder one has a flair for dancing, and I always wanted her to, kind of go into some kind of, and learn more, and, we can just see one right here. But she always said no. And I think I stopped it at that. Maybe she's not someone who wants to be a trained person at that form of art, but she just does it because it just makes her feel happy about it. So I think we just need to leave it at that then. So it's more of, kind of giving them the choice that they want to kind of pick up, but not forcing into it. I think that makes makes it easier for them to kind of look at.
The way you described influence of your grandfather's art when you were a child, tell us about the experiences you saw your daughters having. You know, what were the influences that they had of art around them, and how has that come into their expression?
If I really have to tell you this, but for my daughter, I think somewhere, I guess art has, it's not only about the artistic things that you do in, but even the simple thing like as a woman, looking good, feeling good about yourself itself also kind of brings in a lot of, I would say, self respect. It brings in a lot of satisfaction to you, it brings a lot of confidence in you.
Yeah.
I think even that form of things has influenced them, that okay, in whatever type of a person I am, in my own skin, I am confident and I can be beautiful. So I think that's a form of art which I feel they've really learned up to kind of own themselves into as well.
This is so profound, because what you're saying is, if you think about it, it's so simple. Art is an expression of beauty.
Yeah, of course.
And while it might be looked differently, especially coming from a woman, but hey, why not feel confident about how you are, wherever you are, however you look, and it comes down to how you feel about yourself from within.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
In fact, many would look at it as a, you know, it's too early for you. Yeah, but then when you're looking at your mom getting ready to work every day and, you know, walking out of that door confidently as a woman, I think it only influences your child to kind of say that, okay, even I can do it one day. So I think, yeah.
Beautiful. That brings me to my next question very beautifully. Both of you, or the three of you together, what content do you consume, sit together? You know, how does art bring you together as a family?
Actually, when it comes to content, of course, like fortunately or unfortunately, because I have a very huge gap between my two daughters, which is almost like 7 years, and like my husband says, it's almost like a syllabus change. So there is nothing that, you know, is common between the two of them. So there's nothing that I can do with 3 people together, but it's always, you know, kind of managing a teen and managing a 8-year-old. So I think that's how we kind of work around. But the kind of content that my 16-year-old would kind of at this point of consume is not very different from what we used to consume as a 16-year-old.
Okay.
The only thing is that the mode has changed, the duration has changed. Yeah. Like I was just kind of the other day when I asked her, what are you watching? She said, I'm watching Call Me Bae. I said, oh, is it good? She said, yeah, it's good. It's nice. So then I followed her.
Interesting.
I think it's not the other way around, you know. It's also the fact that I followed her and I kind of watched the entire series, and I realized that there are content which is kind of getting created, which is also very women centric in nature, and giving that, you know, different, like if you've seen that piece, I think it's Ananya Panda has played a very beautiful role into it. And it kind of actually showcases how women, irrespective of their backgrounds, irrespective of where they come from, we've always seen, you know, women from extremely poor backgrounds making it big. That's the storyline that has always been seen. People have never seen the other side of things, where you have women who are come from affluent, families. They come from privileged families, I would say, or backgrounds, but the struggles that they have probably had in case, you know,
and it's also real.
It's real, quite real. So I think it was good to kind of see that, and I think, yeah, I enjoyed it as much as my elder one did. Coming to my younger one, what do we consume? I think I'm still to get there of what this Gen Alpha really consumes.
Yeah. What do they do?
One is, if it is beyond a 15-minute, I think it cannot hook them. That's for sure.
Really?
Really. And it has to be something which is more right now, and, you know, it's happening as a part of somebody's life. Like my younger one kind of consumes this thing which is called Adly. Okay. And this is something that she's consuming. Adly is as maybe a year or two elder to my younger one. And she has her own channel, which her parents are running with her, and they have been making money on the content that is consumed by the world, and to the extent that now she has her own merchandise which sells at some exorbitant
Would you
amount
do
of
that with your daughter?
buy her the merchandise?
No.
Oh, okay. Do that with my daughter? Maybe not.
Why not?
I think it just kind of is too much to kind of expose the person to, the kind of things there's nothing personal about you anymore. I just feel that way. Probably I may
Yeah,
be
it's
wrong.
her opinion.
Yeah, it's my opinion, right? I may not, kind of say that. Though what is happening is, so it's like the mini version of the Kardashians. Okay, it's just that the cameras are right around them all the time, 24/7, and everything that they're doing is covered, and that's just put up on your channels on YouTube, and the amount of followers and the amount of kids who like it and the amount, and it's fine to consume it to an extent. I thought was fine, but after a point of time it just became like, she was growing up with her,
Right.
so everything that she did was so influenced by her than what is getting influenced in the circle of her home or things
Real
around the
circle
real circle
around.
around her. So I think that kind of made it very difficult as well.
Farzana, right now you have such a big responsibility because right now in this platform you're representing audience,
Yeah.
the entire gamut of audience, but specifically mothers of young children.
Yeah.
And just the example that you just gave, I want to explore it a little deeper, a little more, because one angle is to see how is this influencing our future generation, the Gen Alpha, and the second, is it also telling you something about your daughter? Like if she's liking the content that she's watching, is it telling you more about how she's thinking or how she's changing?
I think the way she's consuming content, like example, the kind of gifts that you would probably ask for, right? If she was not consuming the kind of content we had, obviously we all have demanded, right, as children.
Yeah, yeah.
And whatever we have got influences probably by those commercial ads that we've seen over the period of time, or we've seen one of another friend having that kind
Yeah.
of a thing. Today, when I get a request that I want a Barbie camper, all right, I'm like, where did you see that one? And then it kind of rolls back to somebody sitting in the United States, having put up something of this sort, having that kind of ecosystem in which they have that. But my daughter wants it. Do I even get it over here? I don't know.
And I'm sure
So-
it's not just happening with your daughter, you're seeing this a pattern across the.
Across, yes, across. And I think, yes, globalization has made it much more easier and things are coming here, but it takes some time to kind of get here as well. But what is also kind of changing with all of this is that kids have started consuming less content, which also means that their attention span has reduced a lot. So it becomes very difficult for me to kind of bring her back for
To
things
studies.
which really require that attention span. So I think that somewhere is getting influenced a lot.
So, what do you read to your younger one?
It could be anything from various scripts that kind of come across, but the latest that we'll kind of she's intrigued to kind of read is the Hansel and Gretel, or kind of Mowgli. I mean, it could be anything and everything, which we have also grown up with. At the end of it, what is important is that what is it that you want them to learn from it, right? Because whatever form, like earlier also when I mentioned to you, like if there is Adly that she's consuming, I think there are a lot of good elements that I feel that where the child is learning to respect parents, that the child is learning to kind of welcome new people in their families. Also at the same time, how is it that they kind of are controlling their emotions and things that are happening around them. So I think in a way, somewhere or the other, both of them together is the foundation for these people's growth now.
You're saying the content that they consume, you can see a visible influence of it in the way their personality and minds are getting shaped.
They are, and I think I don't want to kind of critique it to a level that I want to kind of say that no, it's not right. Yes, it has its own fallacy of things into it, but at the same time, I think there are things that you can allow your kids to learn from it as well.
Do you have a ritual at the end of the day?
What kind of ritual are you?
Reading.
Okay, So like I said, that ritual has moved from books to television screens to small phone in your arms, where bedtime stories have got converted into YouTube bedtime stories.
Interesting.
Which actually after a 15-hour work day kind of puts me at ease to, instead of read it to her, to kind of just snuggle with her around and hear it alongside her. So I think, yeah, that's how it's changed.
I'm going to ask your opinion or something. Is what Adly doing, the content that your daughter consumes, art?
Yes.
How?
At the end of it, being able to stay in front of a camera and being able to be true to what you're doing, or just behaving as if there's nothing in front of you, I think it takes a lot. And if that child has started doing that at the age of 2 and is carrying on to that thing while she'll turn probably 10 soon, I think it's a great thing. In fact, along with her, my daughter and me, we all have seen her siblings
Grow.
actually come and grow alongside. So I think, yeah, it is a form of art that probably is not the traditional form of art, but it definitely requires a lot of strength to be able to kind of keep up to that kind of things.
Yeah, so artistic expression, specifically here, the content creation. While vlogging has been there for some time, but what you're saying is making me think the way art has, or especially content has interacted with its audience, it's changing, it's becoming more immersive. And especially for the younger kids of today who are the future of tomorrow, the definition of consumer itself will be very different. What do you have to say for that? Like, what would your daughter and the entire generation, the Gen Alpha, grow to become as a consumer?
See, as a consumer, I think one is uh, they want to consume extremely short, not very elaborate kind of content. At the same time, they want instant gratification, right? So it's like, okay, I have finished this, and because I'm doing this, I get something out of it. And gamification has become the word, right? Everything is gamified for them. So after a particular project that you finished with, you need to get this small little toy that comes alongside with it. Now what happens is that they're not realizing that when they're consuming that content, that opposite person is making money out of it. But
Naivety.
that doesn't really happen on this side, right? Because at this side you're only consuming that content. So when that translates into their behavior, it kind of sometimes becomes difficult for, as a parent, to kind of be able to manage the uh, expectations of your child as well.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it has changed in the past probably less than a decade now, because when what I see with my elder one to what I see with my younger one, it's way too different from how she grew up to how my younger one grows up. Behaviorally also they're very different. They're very different. The elder one is more independent. The elder one is more, I would say, does have that ability to kind of think, do a little more larger things. Maybe as the younger one grows up, maybe even she may get into this. But what I see in the younger one is more of, I need it now, or else I throw a tantrum. I'm okay to say that right now, because I think what we have realized is the kind of behavioral patterns across, and it's not only with my child, it's everyone across.
Seeing it across
Yeah.
the other age group.
At that age group, yeah.
What you're saying
It's very
is
aggressive at times as well. It's because it's the expectation has become of that sort. Also, because of social media, because of the kind of things that you're consuming as content, you're not consuming everything as a family anymore. So those social interactions have also reduced. While of course we do encourage our children to kind of be as social, to kind of go down and play and all of that. COVID was the 2 years which probably even worsened things.
oh, she
right?
must have been what, 5, 6 at that time?
Yeah. So it kind of only made consumption much on the higher side. And at the same time, with working parents wanting to concentrate on work during those hours, we had to resort to something of, okay, yellow, consume content. I think that will keep us working while you kind of consume that. So, yeah, like somebody said, lazy parenting. I think that's
Is
the
the
word.
term. uh, I'm personally, I am not too inclined to use the word lazy parenting. I think it's the situation and the context which matters. Uh, because what we are discussing here has been talked about. It's not a new topic where content influences minds, because what is content at the end of the day? It is a mass communication tool.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is, it is so important. Content is not only influencing minds of people, especially the young ones, it's also resulting in change in parenting needs,
Yeah.
which is such an important responsibility that content creators have. Do they realize that this is the picture, this is the big picture?
I think over the period of time, we all have been discussing, like, content has to be progressive, content has to, be progressive to an extent where women are, prioritized, because in a society like ours, women always had, a less chance to kind of excel and grow. But when any of those shows which were had women protagonists at the leads, or they kind of were showing women's empowerment into it, I think we all appreciated that
Yeah.
content, right? So it's not like content creators are not, I would say, feeling responsible, or they're
We'll
not
take it
doing
again.
things responsibly. But I think what is happening over here is that they are probably trying to fulfill the needs of the consumers of different, because see, earlier what they were trying to fulfill was that woman in the house. Okay.
With the TV
Because
serials.
yes, because that woman in the house was the influence on everything and everyone around. That network was about the women. What has changed now is it's not just the women anymore,
Yeah.
because now the content is being, the differentiated content is the man of the house, the children of the house, within the children, the age, different age groups. I think everybody is consuming content as per their needs.
Yeah.
And therefore it's important that each and every content creator realizes this, that we create content which is apt for the age groups. So your TG completely changes for every piece of content that you're creating. And somewhere I think, yes, content creators need to become more responsible. I'm not saying they're not, they are
More aware.
more aware. What happens is that there are individual influencers who kind of create a lot of content. I think that somewhere gets a little,
Tricky.
unguarded, and that's where we need to kind of probably have some control on.
Which is more easily available, actually.
Yeah. Your
Interesting.
Gram or Facebook, I think these are spots where we probably just kind of need to control that.
What would you tell those influencers, individual influencers who are influencing minds, behavioral patterns, societal trends to keep in mind?
I would just say that we all have a responsibility as a society, and while we each one is trying to survive in this society as well, we need to be a little bit more empathetic towards the fact that there are elders, there are mid-aged people, there are children, and there are all kinds of people who come onto that platform. And if you're creating something which is for a particular set of people, just hope that it only reaches to those set of people.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said, which actually, touched some chord within me. You said it's difficult to consume content as a family anymore.
Yeah.
While yes, like you very beautifully articulated, the advancement in analytics has resulted in the content creators to exactly know who to target. The TG is very well defined and it's working. But is it working in the larger scheme of things?
I wouldn't say that completely. There is no content created which
Sure.
is for the families to consume together. There are a lot of channels, and there is still linear which exists, right? And people make choices based on what they want to consume as well. So I wouldn't completely just put it up on the others. I think it's somewhere internally to us also. If we want to, and if we choose to consume content which is family driven, then we can do that as well. But yes, there is also this availability that kind of, I would say, gives an opportunity for people to make that choice. And in today's world, you don't want to restrict your child to be like, okay, come on, 7 to 9, sit with us and watch this content. It may not, be, for us as children, we didn't have an option, right? There was only that much television that you had as to consume content, or else there's nothing. But for now, kids, if they do not want to watch that, they can just kind of go to their room and watch whatever they want. So I think it's just that which has changed. Content is there and available for families to consume together.
With the change in content consumption, do you also see a change in the future when these kids grow up and they become the main audience? I mean, what direction do you see the gist of content going towards?
I think if I have to define content or the genre of content that people will consume or kids will consume, I think the genres will remain the same. It's just about, again,
The duration.
The duration. It's also going to be what attracts each individual, because individuals are not going to change so much. I think we need to embrace the fact that things are changing. Also, at the same time, we need to, as content creators or as artists, like we kind of want to put it, also understand that art will remain in whatever form it is. What is going to change is the medium of that art, how it is being consumed, or how that art is being, kind of practiced at the end of the day. I think that's important.
That makes me think, while art will remain, its medium will change. What is the role art or artistic mind will play or will continue to play as the advancements happen in, let's say, technology or the way we communicate or the way we live? What is the role of art?
I think the role of art is going to be to make people feel curious about things.
Interesting.
I think curiosity is something that today's kids really love and they want to explore a lot. I think art also helps you in kind of getting to know that much better, right? Like example, when you would see an M.F. Hussein's painting on the wall, you're intrigued to know what he's done, right? And that's form of art. And today's kids also are very curious about what's going to happen. Like I said again, it's just the form or the medium that is changing, but I think it's still going to create as much curiosity in a child.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
To wrap up this conversation, go back to your childhood and that young Farzana who used to loiter around her grandfather's art. What would she say to you today about you as a person, as an artist, and about you as a mother?
As an artist, I would say that evolve with the times. I think don't get stuck with things which are from the past. I think that doesn't really help anyone. We need to constantly keep evolving ourselves. As a mother, I definitely would think that my children will have different needs than what I had. It's only fair not to compare them to what I did. Also, at the same time, be that guide or the light which would probably give them the right direction. But at the end of the day, today's generation wants to make their own decisions. So let them just do that.
Beautiful. With that, we hope that the artist within everybody gets unlocked and nurtured, and people like you have that self-imposed responsibility in just doing that in their vicinity.
Yes, and I think as a platform, what VOA is doing is amazing. I think bringing different aspects of how artists can, shape the future of this, generations to come. I think it's fabulous. So great going. I think you guys are doing a fabulous job at this.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Voice of Artist, Farzana. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Megha. This is so much.